this video, I will be showing you all the process of raising Tetramorium ant queens and small colonies. Some of this footage is from almost a year ago, ranging from late July of last year all the way to the present day. I will also be providing tips as well as my experience on raising these queens, so stay tuned. For those of you who live in the Northern Hemisphere, you'll know that summer is finally here, so keep a lookout for new Tetramorium queens as well as other genus such as Camponotus and Formica. With the coming of summer, you can now expect a new video from the channel almost every week. Without further delay, let's get right into how I caught these queens. Here is some footage taken on my phone of catching these queens last year. You can see on the bottom left that I caught these queens on June 29th, 2022. Right next to the date, you can also see which of the 3 queens I am featuring on the screen. That way you don't get confused which one is being shown. This will range throughout the rest of the video. Here you can see a male that I found. The reason why this worker is attacking it is because it has already mated. A male's purpose in life is mating with the queen, and then it is basically done. Usually when I catch my queens, I like to bring a piece of tubing with a cotton ball on each end. The reason why I do this is because it is lighter, you can carry more of them because you can cut up more pieces of tubing, and the test tubes are usually made out of glass. And the reason why I don't want to bring glass is because it might scratch or break. Here you can see the process of getting the queen out of the tube and into the test tube, where it will stay for the next few months. And now it is time to put Queen 1 as well as the other 2 queens somewhere dark. I have chosen to put them in this box during the founding stage, only checking up on them once every 2 to 3 weeks. But of course, because I have to film for my channel, I check up on them more often than that, usually at the start of the founding process. So, the next day, I checked up on them. This is queen number 1, the only one I have shown on the video so far, and she already has 5 eggs. Here you can see that on the same day, queen number 2 also has a few eggs. I have noticed that this is pretty common with this species, in that they lay eggs very quickly after being caught. I think that this is because Tetramorium immigrants are more calm than other ant queens. They're less easily startled, and in which case can adapt to their environment better and be able to lay eggs quicker, being more productive. You can see that queen number 3 is the exact same story. So, assuming everything goes well, I will have 3 Tetramorium colonies. It is a good idea to capture more than 1 queen if possible. I usually like to catch between 3 and 5, and I only found 3 of these Tetramorium queens, so that's the amount I ended up with. The reason for me catching multiple queens is because there are many unforeseen occurrences that can happen. Queens can die from pesticides, mold, infection of some sort, or any other reasons such as not having mated. It is now August 13th of 2022. You can see that this queen, queen number 1, has pupa. Tetramorium queens usually lay lots of eggs, so they start off with around 10 workers per average queen, at least from my experience. Queen number 2 also has the exact same story as queen number 1. She has a lot of pupa and she also has a good amount of large larvae. I'm pretty sure there are some eggs under there as well. As you can see yet again, queen number 3 is identical to queen number 2 and 1 in brood development. This is the main reason why I have a title card on the bottom left of the screen so you can tell which queen is being shown on screen. The water levels in all 3 of the test tubes are full and there is no mold present, which is ideal. About 2 weeks later, it was the big day. The day that all of these queens had their first workers. You can see that there are around 6 workers and there is a good amount of pupa, some of them being darker, which means that more workers are on the way. You can see that most of these workers have their exoskeletons completely hardened, hence their darker color, like the queen. It usually takes about a day or 2 for the workers' exoskeletons to completely harden after they've hatched. This means that these workers are probably a few days old. You can see that this worker is trying to force its way through the cotton to forage for food. This means that it is time to feed this colony. At this stage, where there are only a few workers, it is pretty easy to just remove the cotton, whether there's an ant attached to it or not, get the food in there, and then quickly seal it back up. As the colony grows though, and the test tube fills with more workers, I will have to start thinking about moving them into an actual nest. Here I am feeding them some honey. I accidentally put too much down on the syringe, so I'm sucking it up until I get the perfect amount. Because this colony's worker force is small, only a couple workers actually go out and search for food, and when they do find it, only a few are present, and then they bring it back to feed the rest of the colony. This is so if something happens to those couple workers, the rest of the colony is safe, and they suffer minimal loss. Here you see me doing the same thing with Queen 2, giving them just a little bit of honey and this time actually getting the correct amount on the test tube, so I don't have to suck up any. This colony has around the same amount of workers, about 6 or 7, and they have a good amount of brood as well. And now that brings us to the present day, which is about a week ago. It has been almost 1 year since these queens were captured, and all 3 of the queens are still alive and have a decent amount of workers. There will always be a variability in the amount of eggs that each queen lays and the amount of workers that are present after a specific time. There are some colonies that are doing better than others, but all 3 of these would be a great addition to my collection, although only one of these colonies I will end up keeping. The rest of them I will let go. This is colony number 1. You can see that their worker force is about the same as well as their brood pile. This is because they've been in hibernation for about 6 months. I took them out of hibernation at the beginning of April, and over the last couple of months production has been a little bit slow. But because it's warmer outside now, this colony as well as all of my other colonies out of all of my species that I keep are going to start growing rapidly, because during summer that is when they are at peak production. And here is colony 2. You can see they have had a bit more of a productive start throughout the year and now have around 10 workers. You can see that they have a lot of large larvae and they also have a good amount of eggs. I will be expecting a population boom in the next couple of months because of this. And now we get our first look at colony 3 with her new workers. You can see that there is 1 dead worker, but besides that, they have a very large amount of workers at around 15 compared to the other 2 colonies with around 10, and they have a lot of pupa, larvae, and eggs. This colony will be the one that I probably end up keeping, and the reason why I don't keep them all is because I already have a lot of different species, which I will be showing off on my channel soon. And now I'm going to give this colony some honey. You can see a lot of them trying to get out, and that means they are looking for food. So let's give it to them. Housing small colonies in test tubes is a great option, but there are some downsides to it. One problem is feeding them. As you can see here, when I take out this cotton, because this is a larger colony now for the size of the test tube, a lot of the workers scurry out to protect the nest. This is a sign that it is getting time to move them into a larger setup. Now, with the colony being calmed down because the test tube entrance is sealed, they can start enjoying their honey. You can see that they crowd around the honey and they all position themselves next to each other so they can all get a taste. Even the queen is interested. Here, I managed to catch a newly eclosing worker on film. You can see that it's struggling to get off the protective layer that surrounds it before it hatches. Its exoskeleton is very light, and that is because it is just hatching. As time goes on, it will darken like the other ants and become harder. One thing I like about Tetramorium compared to other ants is that they do not have cocoons. That makes it possible to get shots like this, with a newly eclosing worker right next to the ant queen. But little does this queen know, she is about to get a big surprise from this worker. Now that certainly is not something you see every day. Anyways, thanks to all of you for watching this video. I know I have not posted recently, and that is about to change. Expect videos from me almost every week because I have a lot of videos on the way. Most of them are already completely filmed and are in the editing process, so stay tuned for the Sunday uploads. As you've heard 1,000 times from other people on YouTube, I would appreciate if you subscribed and liked the video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace.